Actors who were selected for a role described as ugly, how did that part feel to play? I had spent a couple of months trying to get a talent agency to work with me and was excited to finally get signed up. After a month of anxiously checking my emails, I decided to call them. It's hard to get a booking without a professional headshot. I recommend creating a more appealing portfolio. Sure, good advice, I thought. Not a knock on my appearance at all. So I booked a shoot and uploaded my headshots a week later. My excitement when I received a casting call was impossible to contain. My agent said I had been picked by the director himself to replace a role at short notice, and would I be available for a 16-hour shoot tomorrow morning from 6 a.m? Hell yes, I was. I just asked for the location and wardrobe, to which I was told just turn up and it will all be provided. The scene details would be emailed to me immediately. I raced to my laptop and opened the attachment. Underworld resident, dead, face down in a field. That was it. The lead actor stepped over me 12 times to get the take right. It had rained the night before, and my face was numb from the Vancouver fall morning. No one saw me because the hood of my costume covered my face. I smiled the whole time. It was my first ever role. I do some acting here in Los Angeles. Usually, garbage man or mechanic or hardware store guy. I get calls for diabetes medication commercials. That's kind of depressing. Other than that, I don't mind. We all have a type. And I get to work with people who I have idolized my whole life sometimes. The thrill of being on a movie or TV set far overcomes any self-conscious feelings I might have because I look like a shabby nobody. And when I die, my kids will be able to see me on Netflix or wherever, doing something I really love. I wish I got to do it a lot more often. But I'm grateful for everything that has come my way because of how I look. My wife is super cute, and she doesn't mind how I look, so that's really all that matters to me at the end of the day. Took a role as the comedy relief homely sister for a shitty play where I was the butt of most of the jokes. It kind of killed my self-esteem during rehearsals, especially since the girl playing my supposedly Hollywood starlet-esque sister liked to brag about being the center of attention and getting a bunch of solos. But I put work into the role nonetheless and tried to have fun with it as best I could. When it came time to actually perform on stage, I got the most laughs and the most praise after each showing, while my sister awkwardly stood off to the side. In the end, it didn't feel so bad after all. It depends, sometimes you get selected to play ugly with the knowledge that you will be dressed and made up to be ugly. Sometimes the role is straight or more serious, but if it's meaty, it's rewarding, even if the process is demanding. If it's someone like the Thenardiers where the ugly is comedic and made up, then it's a blast. If you're selected to be ugly, it's hard to say. Most breakdowns I've ever seen don't specify so brutally. And it also depends on what the casting directors see in you. I've gone out for femme fatale, and I've gone out for trailer trash mom. I've played a hard-living hooker and played a refined high society love interest. It's just hard to say because the role can be transformative and because the breakdowns casting isn't usually so brutal as to be, you're so ugly, you're perfect for this part. Usually, it just feels like work. I'm an actor, but I wouldn't say an ugly one. Just average. Casting calls are hilarious with the ways they describe female characters. There's usually a height requirement with the otherworldly beautiful woman roles, and I'm 5'2", so that's out the window anyway. Movie roles are usually more of that, but I get a lot of commercial work where I respond to casting calls like pretty, but not a model. Still kind of bums me out, but I know where I'll be cast and I want the paycheck. I still work consistently, so I guess it's not so bad, but just once I wish I could get a callback for the unattainable goddess role. A director asked me a few months before holding auditions for his play if I would stop trimming my beard and cutting my hair. He cautioned that it didn't mean I was cast, but he'd simply like me to keep it in mind. Obviously, I went full natural. I didn't want to tell anyone I'd been asked to do it in case I wasn't cast. As things started looking wild, friends kept begging me to clean myself up. I'm not ridiculously good looking, but I'm alright looking and youthful when clean shaven, and I could feel people begin to treat me differently. I'm gay and, my sex life suffered. It became very isolating to feel that sort of superficial distance for the first time. I was only in my early 20s when I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize myself. It started to shake my confidence, but I was committed to the journey. I eventually was cast in the play as a homeless alcoholic. My character entered the play at the top of the second act, got drunk, fabricated colorfully long-winded stories, and remained on stage uninterrupted until the curtain. I lived and breathed that role, and I was completely humbled by the praise I received for my work. It changed my life, my friend group changed, my tastes changed, my identity shifted, it altered how I perceive myself. When you get into the world of acting, you're told certain things about yourself by people trying to help. They might sound insulting, but you shouldn't take them that way. The goal is to get work, so you push certain aspects of yourself to be whatever it is that they want for the role you're going for. It doesn't mean that's who you are. You aren't being told that you're ugly just because you were cast as an ugly person. You're actually just being told that you can play an ugly person. It might not sound like that big of a distinction, but it is. That's the world of acting, and if you can't handle people saying things about what they see when they look at you, then you probably shouldn't be in it. It's definitely not for the fragile. 3 times in high school I played the ugly character. Freshman year I was excited that I had a line in Cinderella, even though it was "I wish I didn't like to eat" in the first number. The second year, I stole the show and got a standing ovation as Mama Mae Peterson in Bye Bye Birdie. The third year, it wasn't exactly an ugly role, but my costume as the head maid Mrs. Pierce in My Fair Lady it looked like someone skinned a couch to see that dress. Those didn't really matter so much. As an underclassman, I was happy just to have a role, especially since I'm good at accents, Brooklyn, British respectively. And 3 standing O's when I came out for Bose was great. But I was looking forward to when my time came senior year. He always picked plays based on the talent he knew would be coming. Birdie was for the alto who played Rosie. My Fair Lady was for her soprano younger sister. It was obvious who the top actor was for my senior year. After joking about my weight, and I was actually not so fat back then, just big boobs, even after losing some weight this year, so I'm only 45 pounds above my high school weight, being a fur coat wearing jerk, and the tweed monstrosity, under stage lights in a non-air conditioned auditorium. My senior year I auditioned for Pippin. The roles I read for were leading player and Fastrada, the narrator and mother, but said that I would be happy with any role but Berthe, the grandmother. And I know that this makes me look a little petty, okay, a lot, but I'd have been Charlemagne's understudy over yet another old lady. I wasn't picky. Lo and behold, I was cast as Berthe. When I asked the director why he didn't put me in as chorus if I didn't fit the other roles, he told me, a high school kid and one of only about 20 people auditioning, that I'm the best actor and one of the better singers, but go take a look at myself in the mirror. I'm not leading lady material. Silly me, I thought talent would be enough to not be typecast as the ugly comic relief my senior year. I ended up playing in the pit orchestra instead, since I was going to college for music. The girl who was my understudy didn't get the role of Berthe, he gave it to someone else because she was too heavy. The girl cast as Fastrada quit after a few weeks of rehearsal, and the leading player completely forgot one of his songs and literally froze on stage. It was a train wreck, and us musicians knew it. I can understand if it was a professional performance. I wouldn't even audition for a pretty role in that case. I acknowledge that I'm built like a dump truck. I've even taken voice acting classes because I love acting, and I really am damn good at it. But this was a small high school's performance. There wasn't a huge talent pool. Would it really have killed the guy to have a slightly overweight actor that can, act, and has a reputation for not only remembering their lines, but everyone else's, so no one knew when Professor Higgins screwed up a scene, to be cast as not the old or fat character for once? That really stuck with me. I auditioned only once in college, and when a stage manager who I later became friends with told me that the student directors only cast their friends, and it sucks because I was better, I didn't even bother. Down almost 30 pounds since January, and I still see myself as the fat tub of lard that I was at the beginning of the year. I've seen myself as that fatso ever since high school. Just took 17 years for my body to catch up to my perception of myself, I guess. I got my rush through performing music instead, at least until our bassist picked a fist fight with me and broke up the band. But that is a story for another thread.